Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's post-cabinet press conference. Today I'm joined by my colleagues, the Honourable Stuart Young, Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and in the Office of the Prime Minister, and Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Nicole Olivier. Minister Stuart Young will begin with his announcements.
Good afternoon, members of the media. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to announce a trip by the Honourable Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley. It is quite a tight trip where he will be starting off in leaving Trinidad and Tobago on the 2nd of May to carry out with the CARICOM Secretariat meetings with the Vice President of the United States, the Honourable Joe Biden, and this will be to discuss energy and security related issues in Washington, D.C. on the 3rd and 4th of May. This summit is part of the continuation of discussions between the U.S. and the Caribbean Central American Energy Security Task Force. And then from Washington, D.C., he leaves on the 4th of May to then go to New York, where he has accepted an invitation to deliver the keynote address at Medgar Evers College on the 5th of May for the first annual awards dinner recognizing individuals and corporate contributions. The importance of this Medgar Evers College is that it accounts, the Trinidad and Tobago nationals account for 23% of the college's international student population. So there's a wide diaspora there that the Prime Minister sees it fit to address at their invitation. He then flies across the Atlantic to meet with Mr. Robert Dudley, who, as you know, is the Chief Executive Officer of BP, on the 7th of May to continue discussions that have begun with Trinidad and Tobago and British Petroleum. As you're aware, our hydrocarbon sector is a very important one. He will be accompanied there by the Honourable Minister of Energy. And then he leaves the following day, so that's on the 8th of May, for an official visit to the Republic of Ghana. This visit to the Republic of Ghana is at the invitation of the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramini Mahama, who extended this invitation to Honourable Prime Minister when they met at the CHOGM meetings in Malta last year. This is the exploration and the continuation of bilateral discussions between Trinidad and Tobago and the Republic of Ghana in the areas of investment such as banking, governance, institutional cooperation, technology transfer, but also for us to explore energy sector related investments and how we may be able to assist Ghana. So the Prime Minister will be there from the 8th to the 11th of May. He has invited a private sector contingent to join him. That is in the process of being compiled and confirmed, and at the appropriate time we will be able to announce who exactly would be accompanying from private sector. But as you know, some of our Trinidadian companies, for example, Republic Bank Limited, have heavy investments in Ghana. Straight from Ghana, the Prime Minister flies into the United Kingdom for the London Anti-Corruption Summit, which has been called for by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Cameron, and that commences on the 12th of May. In fact, a few weeks ago, I went to the UK to begin the preparatory talks here, where we interacted with G7, G8, and G20 countries. This is a massive move by Prime Minister Cameron, and it comes at quite an interesting time with what we've seen unfolding internationally with respect to corruption. So Prime Minister Cameron is having a summit where we expect world leaders to also be in attendance. I had confirmation from China. We interacted with many of the G7, G8, and G20 countries in the last couple of weeks in putting this summit together. And it is for us to have international conversations. I will be joining the Prime Minister there on the 12th of May to have these conversations with international leaders as how we can make it easier for the flow of information, amongst other things, to combat international corruption. And as I say, it is quite fitting this is taking place at this time in light of what has been unfolding internationally within the past couple of days. and the Prime Minister will then return to Trinidad and Tobago on the 14th of May. The 13th of May, we will be meeting with the heads of anti-corruption organizations and units in the United Kingdom. We are in the process of putting together the list of personnel whom we would be wanting to meet with. But the Prime Minister David Cameron has extended this personal invitation to our Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, based on discussions they held in Malta. And I can tell you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the meetings I attended in the UK 2-3 weeks ago, we are featuring quite brightly in the international spotlight on our fight against corruption. And we came for special mention in those meetings based on the contributions that were being made by Trinidad and Tobago at that level. So this is to let the population of Trinidad and Tobago know that the Prime Minister is making very serious efforts with respect to both our pursuit of energy-related matters as well as the issue of corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Young. We'll have Minister Olivier address us now.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to announce some of the developments that we have had in the energy sector. I'd like to announce that the gas sales contract, now the Ministry of Energy received an application from BHP Billiton, the operator of the Block 2C field, for an extension of the gas sales contract as it pertains to the Angostura field. Now, the Standing Committee of Energy met yesterday. We deliberated on it, and we agreed to approve the extension. Now, the Block 2C is a subject to a production sharing contract, which was initially agreed between BHP Petroleum and Elf Petroleum Trinidad Limited in 1996 for a 25-year period. In October 2013, the production sharing contract was extended for a further 5 years. As a result of the ongoing successful production of gas from the field, it was recognized that with the increased life of the gas to be produced from the field, BHP subsequently requested an extension in the gas supply contract to NGC. And having reviewed the various elements prescribed, the Standing Committee of Energy agreed to the extension. What this means is that it should be noted that from the startup of this field in 2011, the gas supply from this field was 220 million standard cubic feet a day. Currently, the field delivers in excess of 235 standard cubic feet per day. With the extension, the availability of gas is projected to increase beyond the year 2021 until 2026, with an increased deliverability of 255 million standard cubic feet per day. So with the availability of this facility, we will be seeing some offset in the impending gas shortage. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Olivier. And we are free to take your questions now. Yes, Joel.
News, just one question to the Energy Minister in reference to the gas shortage. Apart from what you have just announced, any other further update on that issue of natural gas shortage?
Well, in the area of looking at stranded gas fields, we also received an application from Centrica for an assignment of its interest in blocks 1A and 1B to another company which has interest in a downstream plant. And we did, in fact, also approve that extension with that application for an assignment. I will not name the company as yet because they have not yet been informed that the assignment has been approved, but we certainly expect that with this assignment, we will be able to bring in an additional 80 million standard cubic feet a day from as early as late 2017, early 2018.
Is that enough given the demand for, say, plants for leases who have been complaining that there was an issue with gas supply and other commitments, such as our commitments to the LNG trades?
Well, it isn't sufficient to fully mitigate against the gas shortage, but we also have the situation where ArcelorMittal has shut down, so that also makes an additional 60 million standard cubic feet a day available. So although we haven't been able to totally eradicate the current supply shortfall, we are making steps towards mitigating it in the nearest future.
If I may assist the Minister of Energy there, There are active discussions taking place by the government of Trinidad and Tobago with a number of initiatives specifically geared towards dealing with this curtailment issue. And we're expecting quite a few of those to come on stream within hopefully a short period of time. But there are a number of active conversations taking place with both our upstreamers as well as our downstreamers, with one of the elements of those conversations being dealing with the gas curtailment.
And that will include a continued commitment with regard to electricity supply, guarantees for electricity supply?
Well, I think there's actually now a surplus with electricity supply with ArcelorMittal, who were the single largest drawer of electricity in Trinidad and Tobago. And then we know what's happening with their operation. So I don't think there's any issue right now with respect to the supply of electricity.
Just as you're answering questions, Minister, with regard to ArcelorMittal and this issue of the legal issues involved, in terms of the commitment to those workers who have been dismissed by the company, any update in terms of what the government is doing in terms of helping those workers?
Well, as you would have realized at this stage, the government is looking on very closely. This is really an issue between ArcelorMittal and the workers, and there is little direct legal role for the government, but the government is monitoring it very closely.
Just going back to the Energy Minister, the issue of the subsidy, the fuel subsidy on gasoline and diesel is expected to be dealt with in the Parliament tomorrow. But what about, does that issue of the subsidy or subsidies in any way affect cooking gas? Because a friend of mine was asking, is that something that the government, is there a subsidy and would that be affected at any time?
I will not want to take the thunder away from anything that the Minister of Finance will be presenting tomorrow. So you'll just have to wait until the presentation tomorrow to hear anything about subsidies.
Hi, could I just ask Minister Young, you just said there's now a surplus in electricity supply. Would that have any impact on prices?
Well, with the ArcelorMittal plant, which is what I said is they were the single largest drawer of energy. So that's come back, that will be coming back into the grid once whatever dust settles there. And at that stage, we'll see how things unfold.
But in any case, the prices are determined by the RIC, and so we'll have to wait on whatever determination they arrive at.
And to Minister of Energy, is there any update on the ultra-low sulfur diesel project?
Well, as far as I know, Petrotrin is preparing a report for the Public Accounts Committee. And when that report is prepared, the meetings of that Joint Select Committee of Parliament are public. So when that report is aired, everyone will be appraised of it.
Mr. Young, last week in Parliament, you called for an Integrity Commission investigation into the highway extension project. Have you followed up on that? Have you forwarded any correspondence to the Commission in relation to this issue?
I am currently in the process of putting together the necessary documentation, which I intend to send to the Integrity Commission, formally requesting that they look into the matter.
When you might do that?
I am hoping to get that off early next week, at latest.
Minister Young, the Prime Minister had indicated last year that he was invited to go to China and he would be doing so. I thought that might have been, because the timeline he gave was around April, May. Do you have any idea what has happened to that?
As you know, these things are very, very fluid. So he was invited by Prime Minister Cameron for this international summit on corruption, as well as the Ghanaian president and these types of things. Energy is high on the agenda. I am aware that they're still looking at the trip to China, but it's not going to take place within this time frame we've just indicated. But it's not off of the table or off of the cards.
Okay. And you had indicated that Trinidad and Tobago is featuring quite brightly internationally in the fight against corruption. Could you say what specific action has caused this positive attention? Because no one has been held for corruption.
This was participation with international leaders with respect to the issues of how we would fight corruption, and the contributions that were made by Trinidad and Tobago were singled out as being very worthwhile contributions and ones that should be pursued. Part of what will be taking part at this summit in May is international discussion and conversation with respect to, for example, beneficial ownership of trusts. And there should be a declaration as to who really owns the companies. So that kind of fits in nicely with the Panamania paper leaks that are taking place right now. It really is the effort that is taking place by this government of Trinidad and Tobago that is a very quiet effort, as it should be, with respect to how issues of corruption should be dealt with, that have kind of come under the spotlight by the international players.
Are the Panamanian papers in your line of sight in terms of trying to see if there may be any links there?
I think, as we've said, obviously, they have come to our attention. As you are aware, and as the journalists are aware, you all are the ones holding right now the information. The government is looking on keenly. Law enforcement really are the ones who have to take up the investigations with respect to this. And it is very fresh and it is very new, but certainly conversations can and should take place with respect to how the assistance of law enforcement, how we can assist law enforcement with dealing with any investigations.
Sorry, just to go back to the trips that were announced, is there any indication at this stage who might be the acting Prime Minister? And do we have an estimated cost for these traveling arrangements? And can those costs be justified in the current economic conditions?
The costs are being settled. I think the answer is emphatically yes, that the cost can be justified, because right now, and the Minister of Finance is going to make his statement tomorrow, right now the government has to take certain steps and initiatives to see what can be done outside of Trinidad and Tobago, and this trip to Ghana is very important from that aspect. The other one is a necessary trip to meet with the Vice President of the United States, and to lead the CARICOM delegation with respect to both energy and security matters. So that is a necessity. And then, of course, I'm sure everybody would want us to be part of the international fight against corruption. So I think that is also very justified in the circumstances. With respect to who will be the acting Prime Minister, let's wait and see.
Question to the Energy Minister. Can we expect an announcement with regard to a determined decision on the fuel subsidy in Parliament tomorrow, or will it be just an intention to, or maybe a rollout of an intended plan or discussion? There's a lot of anxiety in the population about that, especially in light of the price of fuel at the pump. Will that go up? Inflation, that kind of thing.
I understand your anxiety, but I'll ask you to be a little patient. It's less than 24 hours away, so let's not preempt what the Minister of Finance will be saying tomorrow.
Would the government, would you be at least willing to say whether or not a previous initiative under the past PNM administration for an additional refinery, is that something that has been scrapped altogether, or is it something that this administration is looking at?
Well, we certainly have not been looking at an additional refinery at this time. What we are focused on right now actually is trying to improve our oil production.
Can you give us a sense of how you're trying to do that, given the low level of oil production at this time?
Well, despite the challenges that Petrotrin is facing with their financial situation, I mean, we are looking at extracting more oil from the existing wells. So in terms of their workover program, we are looking at more cost-effective ways of getting the same amount of work done, but we are working with the contractors to see what savings that they can give us in their contractual price. So some efforts have already been taken by Petrotrin in that regard.
One opposition MP, Dr. Tiwari, had expressed a view that the government should be very careful with regards to the issue of the subsidy, given that while the issue of removing or significantly reducing it, in his words, may seem maybe appealing now in the context of low oil prices, that those prices may not necessarily stay that way, and that when those prices, or once they do go back up, however high they do, then we could find ourselves in a very precarious situation with regards to the subsidies.
we will only find ourselves in that precarious position if we do not, as a nation, prepare for an eventual elimination of the subsidy altogether. Now, the past PNM administration did put a plan in place where we were going to phase the introduction of compressed natural gas as a vehicular fuel. And we did establish a number of CNG fueling stations throughout the country that would allow the population to really embrace CNG. Now, in the last 5 years, not much action has been taken on that regard, and as such, the move by the population towards CNG has not taken place at a rapid rate because of the fact the main limitation being the availability of filling stations. So once we prepare the country for that future, that very near future, where subsidy would no longer be as significant as it is today, then certainly it would be a lot easier for the population to accept it at that stage. And part of that is not only just the increase in, well, not just the introduction of CNG making it more viable, but if we also look at improving our road infrastructure network and introducing mass transit, we'd certainly reduce the need for so many individuals to have to use their vehicles daily. So really, we don't see it as a daunting prospect in the future. The prospect of elimination of the subsidy, once you prepare your nation for it, it can be achieved without too much distress on the population.
So follow up to that, and any minister could respond to this question. But what about the issue of public transportation? Because as it stands now, during peak hours, there's a question of whether it really can meet the existing demand. And if you are looking at the issue of the subsidy, one would imagine that you would also have to examine the issue of public transportation, mass public transportation.
What I can tell you is that the Honourable Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Planning have been looking at this issue along with the Minister of Works and Transport, and in the very near future, a statement will be made to the Parliament with respect to the proposals regarding the mass transportation.
Does that include any sort of rail system or something?
Let's wait and see.
To the Minister of Communication, did the issue of CNMG GISL come up at today's cabinet meeting?
No, it did not. No, it did not, but I can restate the position I issued yesterday, and that is the matter is before cabinet, and as soon as we make a decision, we'll look at all the available options and inform the national population, including the employees of GSL and CNMG.
Any issues in terms of, I know at one point there was an issue with GISL in terms of payment of salaries. You did explain that there was a glitch in terms of transferring one from a ministry to another. Any issues with that and CNMG at this time, or has that matter been abated?
Yeah, well, that was never an issue for CNMG. That affected GSL for a short period, but we have since rectified that matter, so there are no longer any payment problems. It was simply an accounting matter.
So, Minister Young, when you heard the police service senior officer, the homicide bureau, talk about the issue of the low detection rate, what, if anything, can be done by the government to ensure the police have the tools and the resources they need, given the fact that this has basically been blamed for the high level of homicides in Trinidad and Tobago?
Jules, this is something that has been attracting the attention of the National Security Council. As you know, the government's role is really one of resourcing, listening to the cries and determining how we can assist by way of resources. One of the matters you'll hear coming on stream very shortly is we have taken a decision, and we're in the process of implementing the use of audio-visual recording equipment for statements. This plays a major role. Mightn't go directly to the detection rate, but certainly towards, we're hoping it will impact and positively influence the conviction rate. Because what you now have is the recording of statements being given by accused and by witnesses via audio and visual recording. So, of course, it immediately eliminates the time spent at trials challenging the veracity of statements. So this is one of the initiatives. I know yesterday the Attorney General spent a lot of time with respect to the prison reform. That's another set. And you're going to see certain initiatives being taken particularly with respect to the resourcing of law enforcement agencies.
I think you can add to those initiatives the one announced yesterday by the police, where they said that they have established a squad to deal with cold cases. And the main aim of that is to ensure that they get detection rate up and not just allow cases that have languished and, added to the poor statistics of the police.
What is storage of DNA evidence or the collection storage of it?
The issue of DNA is on the table at the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, and it is something that is getting our attention. Because that, as you're right, that is going to help with respect to detection rates. We have been in discussions, I can say we have been in discussions with international parties related to that.
Minister, I'm not sure which one might be able to answer this, but PC Anson Benjamin, he was killed. Well, his confirmation of death came today. I know there was a system in place before where the family of officers who were killed while on duty were given money or given some form of compensation. Is that system still in place, and will anything be done for that family?
If you're referring to the $1 million, no mechanisms were put in place to effect that. And I think the Police Association and the Minister of National Security met recently on that matter, and they agreed that because of the lack of any mechanisms, there's a simple thing like determining whether someone died in the line of duty or not. There's a case where someone died of a heart attack at a police station. Would that be included? So there needed to be mechanisms, a policy developed, and that was not done. But having said that, I'd like to express my condolences to the family. I read of the incident myself in the newspapers, and it was really a tragic incident. And I saw the photos of the family who are grieving, and it's yet another death of a law enforcement officer. And I know the Minister of National Security is away now, but I'm sure that he would want to extend his condolences to the family.
But would anything be put in place to address this, Mr. Young?
As Minister Cuffie has said, what we came and we found was this, seemingly by the last administration, a promise to do certain things, but absolutely nothing done to implement it. So the Minister of National Security has been asked to look at this and to come back with his recommendations.
To the Minister of Communications, the Health Minister is not here. I don't know if you may be able to give a response, but there's been a picture on social media with a number of needles and blood samples and vials and so on. Is this something that the government can shed some light on at all?
Well, I saw it myself just now, and I'm sure the Minister of Health would address it tomorrow in his press conference. Thank you all very much. This has been very engaging, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks a lot, you all. Have a good day.